Right, hi everyone. Welcome again to AuthorStory. I'm Alexander Lim, your host, and for this episode, I'm interviewing Monica Burch, author of the book Inside Robotics, an easy way to enrich your child's education using STEM and robotics. And for those of you following along who are interested, you can go over now to the Amazon link in the description below the video and check out or get a copy of the book. So Monica, welcome to AuthorStory. It's fantastic having you as our guest this episode.
Thank you for inviting me.
Cool. So, Monica, please tell us about yourself. What's your author story?
It's a pretty long one. I actually decided to write this book based on the business I do. I'm an electrical engineer by degree and by work. I worked with several companies, and then I decided to stay home with my kids. And once I was home with my kids, I was trying to, figure out what I wanted to do. And I was doing a lot of different things. But one of the things I discovered was what I wanted. I have two boys who are now 20 and 16. So they're no longer kids. They're teenagers and adults.
Right.
But what happened is that I wanted to teach them some of the engineering concepts that I learned and loved. And I started doing that by with ConstructU, and I found this excellent robotics kit when I first started out, and it was a basic kit that taught the basics in robotics, and I liked it, and I worked with my kids with it, and then I decided to work with other kids with it. So,
go ahead.
When everything started to change, and we were talking about the whole STEM, how we add science, technology, engineering, and math into everything.
Right.
I took on that mantle, and to say, okay, with this one thing that I'm using, how can I incorporate those 4 disciplines? And that's when Inside Robotics actually was developed, because what I decided to do was go inside the product I was using and teach them from inside out.
Okay, I got that. So you mentioned that you're involved with ConstructU.
Yes.
Is this correct? Yes. What does ConstructU do?
Well, when I started ConstructU, my goal was, and I still use this little. It's funny. I was trying to, and I always tell people, construct a world where kids love to learn, and to create a universe of thinkers. That's why I came up with the name of ConstructU, because I wanted kids to do hands-on engineering type activities, and while they're doing that, to learn and to expose them to things, because as my kids were growing, I realized there were things out there for art, and there were things out there for music, and there were things out there for sports.
Right.
But the STEM world, which we all now are involved in, but I started this. I've been doing this my son is 16, so I've been doing this for over, I guess, 14 years now. So I've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
But there weren't a lot of things out there for the exposure to that world, the world of STEM, which is such a broad and expansive world. It's such a great thing because it incorporates all 4 disciplines. It's science, technology, engineering, and math. And so my goal was to just expose them and show them about that, and I just actually loved it, and I thought, and my boys liked it, and I had boys, so boys tend to like those hands-on things.
Right.
And so that's what ConstructU is about. It's about exposure. I teach a lot of different. I do robotics. I do it with the kit that I use, which is Robotics with the X, which is an excellent kit for any kid just starting out, just to teach them the basics. And I do Vex Robotics, which is another great one, and I do a lot of hands-on activity. I just finished my 1 year with a spider robot, which was a fun robot that the kids could build and take home, because my goal is in a hands-on environment is I wanted them to continue to learn.
Right.
So with that, when they take one of my workshops, they end up with something that they can take home and know how to fix if it breaks, and that's my goal.
Cool. Nice. So you are involved with teaching things to kids, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
How did you get involved with teaching to kids in particular? I mean, why kids and not grown-ups?
Well, I guess again because of the kids I have, the boys I had. I started off with I had when I decided to stop working
Mm-hmm.
and in corporate America and stay home with the kids. I was doing a lot of volunteer. I was doing Cub Scouts,
Right.
PTO,
Right.
anything you think about with young boys get involved with. I was involved in that.
Right.
So while I was there, one of the things I wanted them to do was to learn this other side because my sons were into the whole game and everything that's a game system. If they can play it, sit there and 4 hours played on the gaming system, they would do that. And I didn't want them to do that. I wanted them to learn how to break things and put them back together.
Right.
Um, so that's when I got involved with the teaching of this, and I've been really happy. I have some fantastic, smart kids, and these years I've been teaching, and I've been really blessed in that. It's been fun.
Okay, cool. So let's move on a little bit to the book. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? I mean, for the benefit of our listeners who don't know what the book is all about.
Okay, so Inside Robotics was my goal. Um, what I do with this kit that I use is Robotics with an X. Is I teach the kids inside out. So I go and I teach them how motors work, electricity,
Mm-hmm.
gears, just the basic things. And any type of robotics that you're going to use, you need to understand how electricity works. You need to understand how gears work. You need to
Right.
understand how motors work. So I start doing that with my classes. And what I was noticing when we were going out to the whole STEM world where everybody was trying to get involved, teachers were doing it. You could go to different camps, everywhere they were, trying to get involved in STEM. And I wanted them to be able to find something that they could easily incorporate in their environment.
Hmm.
And the kit that I use, which is Robotics with an X, is such a nice tool that they could easily incorporate it because it is such the foundation of it is it's a building system, and a lot of kids love to build, so that's a great foundation of it. And just the connecting pieces that they use are octagons, so
Hmm.
just the fact that the math there was so easy to teach them because there's the octagons where you're teaching about polygons, and
Right.
there's the whole component of with angles that you can teach them, and just the whole math component is excellent in introducing that. And it's there, it's inherent into the system. So when I thought about the whole STEM thought of piece, I was thinking about that. Then the science component, because we're building robots that are
Hmm.
moving. You talk about when you design something, and if you design it correctly, it works correctly, and how to get to that point. Because, for example, a kid might and it's dragging, and then you're telling them about friction, and so there's a lot of an clearance of the body of whatever they're building. So there's a lot of science components you can add into it too. And then the engineering component is just you have your gears and your motors and your electricity. So I start off with all that basic stuff to teach them, and the technology itself is a great technology. It's old, it's been out there, and it's very a great foundation. So I put something together so parents who want to introduce their child to STEM or to robotics could use this book, buy the kit, and they can actually do that. They could
Hmm.
also go to the inside component because I have even nice electricity, teach them how to build a basic circuit. I even have it where they, do with LEDs to show them how that works.
Right.
So it's a nice book for camps, for teachers, for parents, for anybody who just want to introduce their kids to STEM. And it's
Hmm.
an easy book to follow, and the projects are easy, and it's fun. There's a lot of things for them to learn.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I got that. Great. So, if I may ask, what is the inspiration for Inside Robotics? I mean, you're already involved with ConstructU. You don't need to write a book. So, what made you realize maybe I should write this book?
You know, I have to say I like writing.
Okay.
I write a lot with my design and curriculum,
Hmm.
and the reason I decided to do this because um, I was going, I was talking to various camps and different programs
Hmm.
about what I offer and what I have available for them,
Right.
and you find out that although we talk about STEM and it's great and it's out there and there's a, it covers, a lot, the four disciplines, which are so vast.
Right.
Engineering is just a small part of the whole STEM component.
Right.
But some of the places you go to, they can't afford to use me or some of the things that are out there to teach their kids that. So Inside Robotics is a way to teach them. It's a book that they can follow. The kit is somewhat expensive, but it's not expensive as some of the other kits out there. And it was easy for somebody to pick up. And I always, I have it available. If you have questions, you can always give me a call just to help them to start their own environment, their own STEM environment with their kids. And that's my goal, was to have something out there. So if anybody wants to do STEM at home, homeschoolers, if somebody wants to start a program in a camp, anybody can do it by using this book and using the kit. And also, if they want to call me up for just questions, I could do that too.
Okay, cool. Now, Monica, you have a science-heavy background. I mean, you mentioned you're in engineering and you worked with various engineering companies. And, speaking from experience, because I'm an engineering guy myself, it can be somewhat difficult to remove all the engineering jargon and communicate technical concepts to non-technical people. So, given that your book is highly understandable to non-technical people, how easy or difficult was it for you to write the book?
It was difficult in a way that the steps are always hard to write because you tend to forget some.
Right.
As you're doing something, you're building something, you're doing something, you sometimes forget those steps. So that was something that I have my younger son Vaughn, who was a guinea pig, who helped me in some ways, and my older son would look at stuff too. And also I have another gentleman that I work with, who actually I get the robotics from. His name is Neil, and he's in his it's Robotics and Things, that website, and Neil Friedman. He's one of the people I talk to a lot too. So I had other people look at the book and just to see if did I miss some steps, and I tried not to. So that was the hard part. And then another part I think was hard for me was just telling the personal component, because if you read my book, I tell you about some of the things I went through and why I did this, and I try to explain it, and that was hard. I think it's an engineering thing. It's sometimes hard for you to just that creative side and talk about those kind of things. So that was difficult for me.
Okay, I got that. And so let me ask you the inverse. What is the easiest thing for you to write about?
What is easy, which is funny that you're saying that, because I said it's hard. It is sometimes that that little bit, adding a little personal thing. It's hard and it's easy because the stories are out there. I use my son, who's my older son, has dysgraphia. He had a problem always with with his writing, and I mentioned that in my book. So some of those things that as you live, you learn, you experience things. I put those things in the book, and that was easy in a way because I had the stories. It was hard in a way because I had to tell the stories and make it understandable and make it easy for you to read and want to read.
Okay, I got that. Cool. All right. So, Monica, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people think mathematics, science, engineering, and, they just blank out. I mean, there seems to be an attitude that these are difficult and demanding the realm of technical elite geeks, but let's face it, these are used everywhere in our daily lives. So, with that defined, let's talk a little bit about robotics. What is it about the robotic system that makes it interesting yet understandable particularly for kids to use?
Well, the thing about that I liked about this, and there's a lot of great robotics kits and things out there for the kids to use. The reason I used this one and I wrote about this one because it did have that building basic, and a lot of kids are into Legos and they like to build. So, and the thing about with STEM, which is the science, technology, and math, is also the A, which is the art component, that component of it. So when you're teaching kids, to use this robotic kit, the getting over, and it's an interesting concept because when I teach the kids, this is a motor and this is these are gears and
Right.
this is a connector and you
Right.
connect, and if you want anything to move automatically, you have to attach it to the gear. And it's always funny because I will hand everybody a gear, I hand everybody a controller, and I hand everybody the motor, and all this attached, and then I hand them a wheel, and I say, let's just set the wheel up so the wheel can move. I told them what they need. I actually showed them too, and it's funny. You have, because I work from K through 8th grade, and I actually work with high schoolers too, and it's funny that concept that they don't get. It's I show it to them, I tell them, I do all that, and then they put that wheel on
Right.
the motor,
Right.
and they don't put it on the gear.
Okay.
So then when you go across, you go to show them, you have to show them what's moving.
Right.
You turn it on, and they see what's moving, and then that's where so that I think was hard for the kids, and just show them that, but it's hands on.
Mm-hmm.
When you're teaching kids, I think hands on, they learn more. They have to
Right.
see it. When they build it and they do it and they experience it, they remember and they learn quicker. For me just to tell them and show them, some of that didn't click. I showed them, I actually put the wheel on the gear and I showed it to them, and I did all that, but then when they got it in their hand, they didn't do that. But when I went by and I said, okay, I'll go by and I say, what's moving, and then they say, oh, this is moving, then they know what to do. So it's a hands-on component that you really, really, really have to add.
Okay, so this is something like, I don't know how to put it, something like logically intuitive, then something like that, and it's really hands-on. Okay.
Yes.
So how effective would you say this is as a learning tool?
I think I have to say it's one of the best learning tools. I have kids who've been with me for years. They're actually graduating out of my, the age group I teach, but they're been with me for years. And what I started doing, because I started off just doing this as a hands-on, and then I started to doing the projects where I have the kids take things home, and just the to go from building this type of thing to building something they can take home. Just the concepts and stuff, they learn it and they know and they understand. It's nice to see, and it's surprising sometimes which kids pick up things more than others. And what I'm experiencing, which is nice too, is I have girls and I have boys. However, I always have more boys than I have girls, which I wish I can. Which is my goal to change. I've been trying to change that because I am a girl.
Okay.
But I always have less girls, but but the kids do pick it up, and they, like I said, the hands-on component makes it easier for them to pick up and for them to see, and it's all the senses there. They seeing it, they're touching it. It's everything that they experience, and they can pick it up quicker that way.
Nice, cool. Okay, got that. So, Monica, are you familiar with the maker movement?
I am. I'm very familiar with that. I love that movement. I do like that. I like the maker movement. I am involved in that. And I always say, you know what? The only thing is I tell people I'm doing the constructing movement because I want my kids to construct stuff and take it home. And so my movement is probably in the parallel in a way, but I'm on a very, very much smaller scale.
Okay.
Because my kids, they build stuff all the time. This summer I just had my camp, and I have to say I do robotics as one of many things I do with my camps during the summer. And my kids built the electrical car this summer, which is a nice experience. And just putting that together, they built it with their hands. They made it. They built that, and they also built electronic circuit that they can take home. They built the car they can take. I also work with a gentleman out of and I keep on getting it mixed up, but Wind Energy. His name is Michael. He's involved with Kid Winds. He's involved with Kid Winds. and it's all about wind energy. And I do a lot of wind energy in my classes too.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids actually made little, what they call fireflies, which is little wind turbines
Right.
that they took home, and they took home wind sail cars. So every day in that type of class, they build something, they construct something. And if you were in a maker, you would say make it, but they
Mm-hmm.
actually construct and build, and they
Okay.
take those things home.
Okay, cool, cool. I got that. So, how do you think your book fits in with the maker movement as it evolves with the use of, portable microcontrollers, advanced embedded systems for off-the-shelf DIY projects at home? Do you think it fits in with that category?
Well, one of the things is that that's what I do. It's
Okay.
all the projects that I do are those type of projects. So the basic though, the anything is learning, and I think it's because I'm an electrical engineer, and this is my view of the whole world,
Okay,
is
okay.
learning how electricity works, and I and
Okay.
I have a nice section on that in my book. Just
Hmm.
having them build basic circuits, testing out insulators and conductors, and I have them doing LEDs, just teaching that to them. And I do all that in my book, which is nice. It's a
Hmm.
separate section, which is different projects from that. And then I also have a nice little project too, where I have using another little kit where they build, it's a motor and they have gears, and they use that component. It's all in my book where they can do those. It shows them, me showing this motor and this gear and putting this together, and how gears work. And in the maker world, the basic things are, I mean, for anything your kid they have to know those things. They have to know how electricity works before you make
Right.
anything out there. If you're going to make it, you have to know those things. So, and that's in my book. And just the whole component about one of the things you'll find out when you're making stuff too, motors are basic to the system too. So you got to have the understanding of those, and those items are all in my book.
Okay, cool. I got that. That's pretty good right there. Okay, so Monica, we've been essentially speaking. I mean, the understanding here is that we're speaking about people who would be eventually interested, maybe in going to STEM at some time in the future. Now, I'm thinking, I've got a few friends who are, into graphic design, artistic stuff. One of them has no particular interest in numbers, and STEM does not particularly appeal to folks like them. That said, given how computer dominated today's world is, do you think something like robotics would be able to help them out if this was presented to them while they were growing up?
I'm glad you said that, because that is one of the reasons I say that my company with ConstructU, we expose our kids to STEM.
Hmm.
And that's why I try to make it a vast, where robotics is, the thing about robotics is it's one of the things a lot of people focus on because it has disciplines in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to do more than that. So, for example, this summer I also had a computer coding class. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I did is my kids actually built a Raspberry. Had a Raspberry Pi, which is nice.
Okay.
But you got a lot of second graders up, and you're plugging into a Raspberry Pi. Doesn't go as some of the things kids are rough with, but it was a nice experiment because they actually built a Raspberry Pi, installed the operating system, saw and then set everything up, and they had to learn all that, and then we worked on Scratch, which is a little easy coding
Yeah.
program. They
Yeah.
did a little bit of Python, and
Okay.
unfortunately for me, one of the things they had on that Raspberry Pi was Minecraft, and
Okay.
we had to give them we had to give them some time to play with that.
All right.
But
Okay.
that
Okay.
so for those kids who didn't like the whole robot, and I had two classes. I had one that had the more building dominant class, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the one that had the robotics and had wind energy. And then I had one with the coding, and I had two different groups. So they
Mm-hmm.
weren't this. I had one kid who was in both of them, but I had two separate groups who were interested in both, and that's the goal. It's exposure, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's not going to like the hands-on building, but some of the kids
Right.
might like computers, and
Right.
they might like to do stuff on computers, and that's one of the things you have to focus on too. So that's
Right.
why my goal is exposure. Just put things out there for kids to do, to do.
Okay. Got that. Cool. Cool. Nice. So, Monica, let's say you came across someone who has a kid really interested in teaching the kid about science, technology, IT, STEM in general, but doesn't think that he or she has the aptitude to do so. And you have only enough time to tell that person one thing about educating their child about STEM. What would be that one thing you would tell him, and why would you tell him that?
Ooh, that's a good question. What would I tell him? What I would tell him is that the STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, are four disciplines, but they they include a lot of different careers,
Mm-hmm.
and that a kid who's interested in that field may not be the kid who may go to college and who's an engineer. That person might go to do a trade, and they're still in that STEM field. My nephew just took a HVAC
Okay.
course,
Right.
which is the heat and ventilation, air conditioning, right?
Right.
That's if you look at that, that's in the STEM field too.
Mm.
There are people every day who go into a medical technician. That's in
Right.
the STEM field. So if you want to teach a child to me about the STEM, one of the things you also want to do is you want to show them what it means and what's out there for them to do that is in STEM. Because
Mm.
when because kids hear STEM a lot. Now we're just we're kind of pushing it down the throat. STEM, and they said it's science, technology, engineering, math, but they don't understand what do I mean by that. So
Right.
I
Right.
also there's I use another excellent site, and unfortunately, I can't think about it. Can't think of the name right now.
Uh-huh.
Future, yeah, it's Future. Is it Future Engineer? You know what? I have to send that to you because I can't think of the name. But it's a great site online that I have a subscription to, and
Okay.
they have tons of different careers in
Mm.
STEM. They're like up to 5 minute long little videos that show different careers in STEM.
Mm.
And depending on what type of class I'm teaching, I show those like every day. Just every time I have one, a 5 minute little. This is a career in STEM. So
Right.
the kids start thinking because they have one. They have this great one about somebody making guitars and
Mm-hmm.
somebody making skating boards, somebody designing backpacks. So all those things are careers are in the STEM field. But as a kid, when we say the science, technology, engineering, math, they don't understand. But you want to show them what you're talking about, and by
Right.
showing them some careers in the future, I keep on thinking it's the Future Channel. That's it. It's the
Mm.
Future Channel, and they have these excellent videos just showing you all these different careers. They even have one about baking, which is
Mm.
interesting because you have to use a lot of math in baking, and you
Okay.
have to use a lot of different technology. It was really interesting. But that's for me. If you're going to teach kids about that, you also want to teach them what the end product is. Because
Mm.
a lot of kids they start off, and that's why I get my kids young. I try to do K through 8 because I want to expose them. Because when they get to high school,
Mm-hmm.
they get to some of these courses that are hard, and they take physics, and after physics, you have a lot. And I've known a lot of kids who decided after physics, I'm not going to do engineering because it's too
Right.
hard. But you want to give them that exposure young and just to get that love for it. So when they do get to physics, and physics is a little hard, they're going to do what they need to do to overcome and do better in it so they can keep on going.
Mm. Cool. Okay. Got
Because
that. Go ahead, please.
I tell kids everything. Some kids are really great at math, some kids are really great at science, but everybody's not really great at everything, and some things you got to work at.
Right.
So if you're not great at math, you're not great at science, but you love the building, you can understand the concept.
Right.
I mean, I know some kids who worked with me when they were young, and I just saw that they were natural builders and they loved that component, but they never did well in math. Or I had one kid I knew who always did great in math but did horrible in English.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a school that offers the STEM, enrichment, but they only offer to their kids who they consider they're gifted and they're talented,
Right.
then you also have then that's another issue, because then that kid who's great in that math but not great in English may not be exposed to it. So at the end, I think it's up to parents, and that's another component I have for parents, is how they construct their child's education by
Mm.
exposing them and showing what's out there, and then helping them through, because like I said, sometimes it takes work, and I always tell my boys is that I grew up in a different time, and I grew up in Alabama, and
Right.
it was a different time altogether. And
Right.
we were used to, if you got something, you studied a lot. You went past what we saw in the book.
Right.
And the kids today they're so blessed because with the internet, there's so many things they can learn. So you want them to take that, to work hard, to go that extra mile so that they can learn and they understand, because when you work hard at something, you usually come better at it.
Right.
So that's what I would teach them. If I could tell them that.
Cool. Well, those are great words of wisdom right there, definitely. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So in closing then, our guest is author Monica Burch. Again, her book is Inside Robotics, An Easy Way to Enrich Your Child's Education Using STEM and Robotics. The website where you can find the book is at ConstructU.com. That's ConstructU.com. And it's also widely distributed on such websites as Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So, Monica, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being on AuthorStory. Your book is certainly a boon to education in this new age of computing and making. It was great to have you with us as our guest.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Of course, for those of you listening, if you want to get Monica's book, you can get it right now by going to the Amazon link in the description below the video. And if you'd like to follow our author interviews on YouTube, it's easy. Just click subscribe. So bye for now, everyone. I'll be back on AuthorStory with another inspiring author.